Okay, let's see how this works out. So, Mr. Mike said that he wanted to be able to see how my system is currently working, and still very, very early, nowhere near what I want it to be when it's completed, but we'll get to that in a bit. But I thought I'd take you on a little tour. So, spawn is somewhere in this location generally. I'm not 100% sure. It's been a while since I spawned in this area. A little ruined hut there. But it's not a bad spawn site. There's horses in there. A good amount of hills around, and then there's this big desert. So I was like, sweet, let's go check it out, and discovered there was a village over here. Oil in the desert, more horses. This has totally changed from what it was originally. This village was wiped out several times by zombies, so I got sick of repopulating the village and put up fences to keep the zombies out. So now zombies don't come in this village anymore, and I also got sick and tired of villagers going and trying to commit suicide in the well, so I made it so they couldn't get into the well. Now all these villages here exist from a combination of kidnapping and breeding program. So when I first arrived, I found the village, and this was originally a little hut, an RF Tools hut. So I moved into here because why not? I expanded it out a little bit, and this was basically everything. And then I started to expand it out further, and I was going to put a roof across here and make this bigger, but I got bored of that, and so I didn't bother. And now, this is simply where my mob grinder is. So in here, we'll cover that in a second. And then mob drops that I actually want to keep go into these barrels, and everything else just ends up in this matter condenser producing singularities. Singularities so that I can spread my ME network out, but we'll cover that in a bit. As you can see, I'm not really too worried about the amount of stuff that I'm getting, except on some of the things that I actually really use, although that's not so true nowadays. So for example, I was using lots of bones, so I upgraded the barrels for bones, blaze rods a little bit as well, sulfur also, and I was using rotten flesh for nutrient distillation, so I upgraded that as well. These, oh man, pearls are the biggest annoyance in the game ever, but I got it to the point now where they're a non-event anymore, such that, you know, I can use this thing and not really care about pearls. Mob grinder. It is currently, it has 2 powered spawners, but then the rest of it just uses cursed earth. And you can see there we have a little vacuum hopper and a vacuum chest, and they are basically just sucking up everything. The vacuum hopper came after the vacuum chest when I decided that I wanted to get XP as well, so couldn't be bothered removing the vacuum chest. I just added the vacuum hopper, and then there's a buff feeding into this, but the vacuum hopper also collects all the XP and sticks it into here, which if you look in the whaler tooltip up the top there, 39,333,460 millibuckets of liquid XP. We also have a tank of liquid XP so that I can put it into buckets easily for making magical wood and so on. Enchanting station, just standard Ender IO one. Take your items, stick them in here, grab some XP out of here, off you go, use your anvil to make whatever you need. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Other mob spawners before I got to Cursed Earth. And then, yeah, village highlighter. This was really useful for making buildings to expand the village to get more villagers before I started tearing them down again. We have cobble generator, extra utils. Very simple. These currently are turned right down because I don't need them anywhere near as much as I used to. But it was basically 64 world interaction upgrades plus 32 speed upgrades in each of these to give me lots and lots of cobble, and then that was getting fed into here, which was then making octuple compressed cobblestone, which I could then go and cook to make myself bedrock in. Originally this was getting powered. I had solar panels across the top here to power all this, and then the capacitor bank. That is long gone, just tesseract now, no big deal. So, from there, we have our little tinkers, we had our paper farm going, and then we were using this to do things such as awakened dragonite and so on, or yeah, awakened whatever it's called from the draconic evolution. So we moved from there. We needed something a little bit bigger, and by this stage we could fly. So we made this, and we had a couple of rooms over here, and then some more up here. And this was also another spot that I was using to help breed my villagers so that I could repopulate that other village. Thus the farm and all the doors. And then I was using packing chests to pick up emeralds, because the advantages of villages is they drop emeralds at random. So yes, that's what these were. I don't even know if I ever, I guess I must have emptied them all out. And then this just has glass over the top so they can see the top, but oh well. So from there we went and we built this monstrosity. Now, I'll explain all this as we go, but we'll do it bottom up. So here we have snowballs powered by solar panels, and here we have obsidian powered by solar panels, and then this is just lava coming from the nether, and any excess power that these solar panels have is getting fed into the tesseract, and that goes down to the power gen. Here is our reactor currently running. The laser bank's over there to charge up and then fire it away, but we'll cover that when we get to the power. So let's start down the bottom. Currently we are producing an excess of power by 370,000 direct per tick, more than we're using. As you can see here, we have total capacity of 6.144 trillion RF, and we currently have stored 1.84 trillion RF. This is less than 50% of the total, so it's currently showing as orange. When it gets to 50 it'll turn to yellow, and then when it gets over 75 it'll turn to green. If it were under 25 this would be red. So yes, and then we have a little histogram that shows how much energy is going into the capacitor bank at this particular point. So it shows me, I can see spikes of when I'm using it or when I'm needing to increase or decrease power. But when you're producing 300, nearly 400,000 RF per tick more than what you're actually using, it's not really an issue. And I normally wouldn't even be producing that, it's just that I was working on code and doing some testing. Over here we have storage. This is basically, I just gave up. I went, screw it, Originally I was, I had these and I was partitioning them up so that they were being taken advantage of properly, you know, so that efficient use of resources. But when you get to a point where you have more resources than you could ever possibly care about, it's just like, screw it, we'll just make a bunch of drives and we'll stick them in there, and then we don't have to worry about it ever again. And so every now and then that's what I'll do. If I see these start to fill up, then I've got more back here. We have these chests. These are linked to the ones over by the mob grinder via B-space upgrades. So this isn't double what was over there. This is the same stuff that was over there. And then our cobblestone. Oh, sorry, this one's the coal, which is what, 137,000. This one here is cobblestone. So here we have nearly 6 million cobblestone stored in this deep storage unit, and we just refill it from here. Just put a conduit across the top. Snowballs that are up top, and then the obsidian that's up top. Makes that nice and easy. Crafting. Just 3 crafters at this point, but as you can see, they're running 64k crafting times 8. Times 17, and then 9 co-processors at the top. So we have 3 of those, and I haven't yet found a recipe that these haven't handled, but I have space for more over here when we get to that. So when this is too full to expand further, this will get expanded. We have access to ME here, and then this is for items. So if I'm running around and I pick up items that I want to stick in my ME, I have in the pouch, and then anything goes in here just gets sucked into the ME system. Of course, little bits and pieces. So we have the security thing for managing wireless. We have the I/O port that allows me to move stuff between different storage cells. We have a ME chest that allows me to see what's on the storage cells, and then of course the workbench so that I can partition stuff. So you can see the last time I was using this, I was partitioning up the different ingots into a single cell so that only those ingots would go into those cells. Mechanism. I freaking love Mechanism. Holy crap, do I love Mechanism. So this is Mechanism 9 security desk. This allows you to control, let's get rid of that. This allows you to control your security on the machines. So you can say that only trusted players can access your machines, or only I can access my machines, or anyone can access those machines. And then I can go over here and I can turn an override on, and the override basically says all machines on my network are now in trusted mode, or all machines on my network are now in private mode. So yeah, this is kind of nice. I like this. This was a good addition to the mod. So this here, haven't decided yet, but we'll get to that. Probably expand this. So this is just, let me go and show you. We'll go through here. These are ultimate induction cells. There are three rows of 10 each there, so 30 ultimate induction cells, and then an elite induction provider and an ultimate induction. The elite is from before I had the resources to upgrade, and then we've just added the ultimate as we upgraded. This will probably also get filled with more induction cells, so maybe another 10 there, just so that I can, but who knows, we'll see. Let's Just close that back up again. If I need to, I can access the UI for that here. So you'll see 1.84 trillion RF. Currently inputting is 400,000 and currently using about 30,000. This is basically what I would call my idle state. So next level, let's go up to the bed. You have the books for all the mods that I'm actually using there, and then we have Draconic Evolution tablet, and this is such a useful little thing, the ore converter. Take your ores here, they'll show up all the different variants here, and then you can just pull out what you want them to be. So if you need to convert from, say, Tinker's steel to Mechanism steel, because the recipe can only use one, then you can use that to do it on the fly. Armor progression. So, started the game, got leather armor. That's long gone. From there we went to ruby armor. And with ruby armor, the chestplate is missing because, well, we progressed to flux and fused, but we used the jet plate. So this was a nice little set of armor. It took forever to slowly upgrade this, and while I was wearing the different tiers of the jet plate before I got it to flux and fused, it was a combination of dark steel or ruby or bits and pieces of this. So eventually, at different points, you know, I had the dark steel leggings and the helmet and the dark plate, and they all got different upgrades. So this one's what, empowered 3 with glider attached, while this is empowered 2, but it has the solar generator attached. And these are empowered 2 with speed upgrades, or empowered 3 with pistons and flippers. Oh no, just empowered 2. So, yeah, different upgrades. Obviously I was using Tinker's tools, so here I have my cleaver for getting my hits that I need, and my longsword. Lots of people prefer the rapier. I kinda like the longsword. I know it doesn't go through armor as well as the rapier, but just me being me. The ender. It's one of the best tools for getting hits in the game, and you can power it up. So this is powered up as far as it can go. I think, yeah, it is mid-in RF, so this is one of the best. And you'll notice there it's got Unbreaking, Looting 3, and Soulbound. So if I die, I still get my sword. The Unbreaking means that even though this is fully empowered and its RF is consuming 90% of the damage, by adding Unbreaking it takes even longer. And then Looting just got me more hits. Flight, eventually jetpacks just suck. I'm sorry, I love that mod, but they suck. So extra utils, you can't go wrong with Angel Wings. And again, Soulbound, so that if I die, I don't lose my wings. In fact, I think most of this armor should be Soulbound as well. Yes, Soulbound, 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 yeah. But that was my basic armor and weapons progression. Now it's all draconic stuff with the draconic sword. I haven't bothered with the big draconic stuff power because I'm still using my Tinker's pickaxe and Tinker's excavator and hammer and axe and so on. So, what I was using, so power gen, should probably get into that at some point. Solar panels, everyone loves solar panels, and a lot of them ended up over here on these evaporation towers. But they were a good beginning. So start the game out with Stirling generators, and these get you going. These are a good way to begin, but they don't produce anywhere near enough power, and even with capacitor upgrades, they just don't produce enough power. So because I have Mekanism on here, I was able to go from Stirling generators to solar generators relatively easily. And then from solar generators, we'll go up here, and hopefully the noise isn't too loud. Shouldn't be, because we're not really using the power of these anymore at the moment. But wind turbines. And these now just fire out into a tesseract that goes down the bottom. And then this is just in passing. This is where you kill the weather boss, but well. So solar to wind, from wind, eventually that runs out of juice, and so you go big reactors. Big reactors are not too bad. This one is, what, I think this one does 14 or 15,000 RF per tick. We'll let it catch up. Yeah, so about 14,500 RF per tick, and it's not bad. I keep it around because it's a backup, just in case. And then obviously, I'm not hurting for fuel for this thing, so not a problem there. That then would go into, where are they? Ender IO capacitors. And these things they're great for what they are. They are fantastic, but they don't hold anywhere near enough power. And when I've got all this stuff going, I mean, just this section here alone uses about 20,000 RF on its own. And then you add in these two, and there's about another, I think it's another 5,000 each, so about, just this wall processing ores before you even take into account these middle machines. That's 30,000 RF just on that wall alone when that thing's in full swing. So capacitor banks from Ender IO are nice, but to be able to power that wall of 5,000 RF per tick each, I needed 9 of them just to get up to having a surplus that would keep up. So, Draconic Evolution. Now, this is a tier 4 Draconic capacitor, and I was fully planning on upgrading this all the way through to tier 7, but Draconium is frickin' annoying to get, and if I want to keep upgrading my armor and so on, then I had to use my Draconium for things other than, well, upgrading capacitor bank. And this stores 9.8 billion RF, which is fine. Absolutely fine in general, but upgrading beyond that is frustrating. So this gets fed. Currently it's coming out of the induction matrix, but originally it was getting fed from the power gen network there, and then that feeds out into the power grid, which works. So everything is going through that capacitor out to the grid still, but everything is coming into this induction matrix, and then this induction matrix is feeding that Draconic capacitor. And you'll see here that these have levers. This just basically means that if I need to, I can turn off either the power gen network or the power grid. If I hit that switch, this stops getting power, so this starts getting used. And then up here, same deal, if I hit this switch, that stops getting power, and you can see that currently we're using is 30,000 RF per tick. Turn it back on, and it sucks a big amount of juice straight out of the capacitor matrix and fills right back up instantly. So, ores. Let's turn this on and off. Ores come into this chest here. Black is just my ore production, my mining production. When I first started the game, obviously, there was nothing. And so I needed to go and mine everything by hand. And we would mine off down here. So you see lots of mining off in this direction. Never mind near the surface, you always go. We have stairs here that go down further. We go up mining that way. We go mining this direction. More stairs. Nice big ravine in the middle of here. More. There's a nice big hole in the ground. Here is my very first mine. This I excavated by hand. The first time right around I did. This was my tinker's hammer and my tinker's pickaxe, and just dug all the way through until I had enough resources to stop doing them by hand, which then allowed me to start using digital miners. Just get rid of these guys. Probably put this back here. So, digging this out by hand took a very, very long time, and then I got sick of that, so we have upgraded to digital miners. Mod salt, perfect, need that. So this, give it power, give it some way to send stuff to, so in this case, we go into chest, and tesseract, and chunk loader. So we stick the tesseract there, and we stick the chest on the back there, and put the chunk loader here to four chunks, and this is currently limited in what it's pulling out, but I would normally just go here and go or star, hit save, start. This thing is just gonna suck everything out of the area. I think I reduced the radius on this, yeah, radius of 8, so it's kind of doing nothing at the moment. But yeah, this was the first finally automated mining system. That meant that I didn't have to keep doing this. I was still processing it manually, but I didn't have to keep digging it manually. And with that, I didn't have to keep digging in this specific way when I can fly. So we have a ladder here that gets me up and out. So, automated mining allow me to progress. Here is my ranch. We have 256 buckets of milk. The produce from the grinder here is getting dumped directly into the ME, and we're also collecting essence, which is not much at the moment. currently we have redstone power turned on, so this is all turned off. But if we stick this wheat in here, turn it on. So we have a rancher here that is going to milk the cows and shear the sheep. And then we have the breeder here that's going to breed the cows. So you can see there's a little baby cow and a couple little baby sheep. And they get sucked across to here by this chronotyper. And then over here the grinder waits until these are fully adult and then grinds them, takes the leather, the beef, the mutton, and the wool, and throws them in this chest, which then sticks them into the ME system. So yeah, resource gathering. Once we got the digital miners, mining by hand was not a problem. So we were able to start. Oh, did I miss another? We were able to start this. And this made life a lot easier. So this is the mining world. And on the surface it's just basically a purely flat terrain, no trees, lots of Botania flowers. That's actually where I come for my Botania flowers when I need them, because as you can see there's a lot of them. There are some things around that have been produced by the mods, so I think in this direction there's a couple of Thumbcraft places that have spawned, but yeah, can't be bothered. But I just brought the miners, digital miner over here, and left it here, telling it to give me everything, and then it would go and it would suck all the ores out of the ground and not leave big holes all over the place that were visible. And that would be how I would add to what was being collected. Further to that we have the nether. Now, there was a point where power was... I wasn't able to produce enough power from the solar panels, but I wasn't yet in a position to be able to use wind turbines efficiently, and so I was using lava. As to where this goes. And let everything catch up. You can probably see it on the mini-map. We had a endothermic pump. I used to keep it hidden in what was called my pump house. And this thing just sucked all the life out of the nether, so that I didn't have to. This is taking forever to load, which is kind of unfortunate, but oh well. But eventually, you know, started consuming the majority of this lake, and I needed to move it somewhere where it wasn't going to be a continued burden on me, so I think we went in this direction. Yeah, there it is. So it is still here. Now this is also the lava source that I'm using for... Go away. Where did you go? Did you die? But this is the lava source that I'm also using to produce my obsidian, so... Where is that? Oh, there it is. Did I get a tier? Yes, got a tier. Thank you. So, that's why it's still here. And as you can see, it's progressively taking over this little lake as well. Not really that big of a deal. but yeah. Now, for a while I would bring the digital miners into here as well, because the nether ores, especially for ardite and cobalt, but the nether ores generally will produce more of the material. Basically, they're pre-doubled before you even get into ore doubling. And so I'd bring the digital miner over here and just start sucking ores and glowstone and quartz out of here, which is useful as well. So let's go back to the workshop. And we'll start going over what we have here. This is really laggy because I've thrown everything really close together, and then these two Tinker's basin and table here, when these are going, they produce massive lag. So I'll cover this now quickly. This is a drum of molten gold. It's getting filled from an ender tank that is pulling from an RF Tools dimension. And this is a drum of molten bedrockium. Same thing, it's getting filled from an ender tank that's pulling from an RF Tools dimension. Why? Well, because I wanted these bedrockium drums, and using the cobble generator to make bedrockium was freaking slow. But when I've got the dimlets that allow me to make make dimensions with the properties that I want, then why not? The other thing was I was consuming huge amounts of gold. Like, my gold was crazy low for a very long time. So this allowed me to eliminate my gold problems entirely. When the dimensions are turned on, these turned off allows the dimensions to feed these tables, and then the excess into the drums. Or if I turn these on, these will take from the drums and into there, and then again black, green, green goes into the ME network directly. These are simple levers, self-resetting, so if I flick this lever, it'll turn itself off in 5 minutes. And then same deal, turns into a gold block, gets fed into the chest, goes into the ME. Crafting. ME molecular assemblers. There are 4 assemblers per ME interface. This means that a single interface can craft 4 of an item at once. So when you are doing things that use lots and lots and lots of a single item, then the ME interface that produces that item can do lots of them at one time. Stack them like this. You've got them 8 high because you can have a single line carrying 8 RF Tools 8 AE channels. So that's 8 channels, 8 channels, 8 channels, and then over the back there another 8 channels, and I'm just going to fill that area up again, similar to this, but where this is currently, we'll end up having on that side another stack of ME interfaces. In the middle here we have our crafting. Wow, that lag is really bad there. That's one of the reasons I don't spend much time here anymore. Magma crucible into a fluid transposer makes what you need, so whether it be redstone flux, wirings, what are they? The ducts, the flux ducts. We then have a redstone furnace, and both of these are fully upgraded for speed. 2 sag mills, because why not? This, oh my god, this alone is why you get Mechanism 9. The metallurgic infuser could do a single recipe at a time previously. So you would put your redstone in, and you'd put your iron in, and then you'd have to wait for that stack to finish, and then you could do your next bit. This can do 7 at a time, like all the other mechanism factories. It took them 9 versions, and now 8, and I am very happy, thank you. But this is so much faster, and of course we've got 8 speed upgrades on this, but we're also using 8 energy upgrades, so at full clip this thing I think uses, from memory, about 1500 RF per tick. Same deal here, compressing factory, don't use this anywhere near as often as you might think, but oh well. 2 Ender IO alloy furnaces, both running alloys only, just cause. This, I need to continue working on this, but this is an induction smelter, and there'll be a second one that goes beside it soon, but I just don't use it enough to warrant that just yet. And then 2 pulverizers, both running max augments. So all of these have, except for the Ender IO stuff, basically they have an ME interface that puts stuff into a chest, then from the chest it goes out into the machine, and then from the machine, it's kind of hard to see on these ones, but it gets pulled out of the machine and back into the chest. You can see it a little bit on these. So it goes, sorry, not back into the chest, but back into the ME interface. So you get that loop there. This was most annoying to set up for, say, this metallurgic infuser, simply because I needed 2 inputs and they're on different colors. So this had to go into one side on one color, and then another side on another color. So on the back we're taking the extra, and on the left we're taking the input. So this is your extra across the bottom here, and then this is your input across the top. So we'll see what works out. So far it's been alright. There are some moments when it's caused problems and I've had to go and clean out the chest and then deal to that, but for the most part it's working out alright. I just have to be careful what I'm making at any one time. So this is pretty much all automated production, and that's all these interfaces are for, that specifically. Ore production or ore gathering has to go through the system here. So originally we guessed digital miners, but when I got the big power, I got sick of digital miners. I didn't like having to go and move them. So we now have the Mine Factory Reloaded mining laser drill. This is basically sucking 20,000 RF per tick on its own, pulling stuff out of the ground, supposedly. Not really, but generating ores that get dumped straight into the ender chest. The ender chest is on black, 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 which as a result gets fed into the ore processing system. Now, this is a mechanism 3 times. I could go 5, I have the resources to do 5, but I just really can't be bothered because I'm not in any way hurting for resources that I really care enough to want to go 5 times. So we have down here the electrolytic separator producing hydrogen and oxygen. The hydrogen, we're just dumping the excess, we don't really care about it here, so whatever. I have found that this system is so fast that I need 2 water reservoirs to feed this to produce enough oxygen to feed the purifying factory. Now, the purifying factory needs to be turned on for it to work, but it takes the oxygen and it takes your ores, and it then produces clumps. And the clumps go up into the crushing factory, and the crushing factory then takes those, crushes them up, and produces, so this produces 3 clumps. Then this goes and produces 3 dirty dust. Then this takes the dirty dust and cleans it so that you have just your normal dust that you get, whether you're using, I don't know, thermal expansion or render IO machines or whatever. So instead of going 2 dust per ore, you're getting 3 because this is producing 3. So let's see which one of these got any of that. None. There we go. So this is just feeding from here up into here, and there are our normal dusts from the dirty dusts. So it goes up this line and then gets fed across to here. And here we have the smelting factory that is taking those. So they buffer in here first, and then they go from here up into here. And then these obviously cook the dusts up into ingots, and then the ingots get fed through this little ore converter. So this normalizes all my ingots. Basically, everything coming out, I want it to be such that it's all going to be the primary version that most mods are going to expect, or dictionaried to, for example, just the thermal expansion ores or whatever. The reason for this is there was a point where these were producing mechanism steel from steel ore, but I had stuff that, because I'd been manually doing this previously, steel was originally or dictionaried to tinkers. So where is it? Here. Oh, sorry, immersive engineering's rather. And so the recipes that I had already got set up were looking for immersive engineering steel, but this was producing mechanism steel, and so it was causing problems. And it was true for a couple of other ingots in here as well. I think bronze was another one that was causing me problems, and yeah. So that little ore dictionary is basically exactly the same as the one up top, this little thing here. It just instead is in a block form that you can pipe into and pipe out of. Then there is also the Forge lexicon, and you can use this to do the same sort of thing. This is just a part of thermal expansion from memory, and allows you to take an ore and turn it into another ore, and that's fine, but this just automates it as part of the whole process of sending stuff into the ME, so I don't have to think about it ever. You'll notice I'm using a lot of RF tools modular storage. Before I got my ME, I put off ME for so long. I really didn't want to run ME. I was using Ender.io, what do they call them, storage managers, for ages, and then also RF tools modular storage with remote storage. I've taken away most of this now. I've only got 2 left, and I think it's this one here, that one there, and this one here. These are the last 2 remotes, and the reason for that, put it in here. This was a remote, and that let me access all 4 that were originally in here, but now these are just used for raw processing, and kind of pointless having that be remote. So it's really basically just a really massive portable bag that allows me to store 300 stacks of whatever, if I ever bother using it. But RF tools storage is fantastic, and this is only 1.7, Minecraft 1.7, the stuff that's coming in 1.9, 1.10, absolutely blows me away, so pretty fantastic. So this is processing. So stuff comes in, this controls the mining laser. Turn it off, stop the mining laser, turn it on, start the mining laser. And that, I just leave that running. It's 20,000 RF per tick, producing, minimum of 200,000 per tick, I really don't care. I mean, this is essentially a rounding error at that point. So this just gets left going, and it brings all the ores in through this chest, and then from this chest they get put into here. This allows me to control everything. Basically, it's just a big, massive buffer. So all these ores got dense ores across the top here, for the most part, and then all these ores just buffer up, and then when I turn that on over there, they get sucked out of here and go through that system and then straight into the ME. Other side we have similar things, but these are for gems for the most part. So here is quartz, and here is more quartz, and diamonds, and redstone, and lapis. You can see here on these, there's the dense ore versions as well. I have no idea what to do with Peridot. For a while I was using it, similar to the ruby armor up there, but the Peridot has basically no durability. It provides diamond level armor with like leather level durability, and then same here with Ledgertine for Project Red. I want to really get into Project Red, but I have no value to it other than bundled cables, and I'm not going to use Project Red bundled cables when I have other options available to me, such as, you know, OpenComputers or Ender.io conduits and so on. So, yeah. So essentially what happens is all these get built up as ores here, and then I turn them on here, and they just get sagged through down into the gem or the whatever. Do redstone through the sag mill, because the redstone in the sag mill produces more silicon than if I were to do it through the pulverizer. So that's the reason for redstone going through here. And for the most part, I will get 2 or 3 diamonds per ore and gems and so on, doing it this way. But then we also have the nether versions. Now the mining laser also pulls these out as well. So we have lapis, redstone, diamond, emerald, and so on. But when you pulverize these, you get 5 diamonds per nether diamond ore, and 5 emeralds per nether diamond ore. So I just run these straight into the sag mill, which is not true for the actual metal ores. What I do with these, the metal ores, I run through a furnace first. By running them through the furnace first, they get turned into a combination of netherrack and at least a minimum of 2 normal ores of whatever metal it is. So this nether iron ore, one of these would turn into 2 plain iron ores, and then that would get put through this system over here, so it would triple it. So 1 nether iron ore would give me 6 iron ingots. So yeah, that's a little crazy. And uranium and so on, steel here, and silver, ferrous, tin, lead, and so on. So this system here, then we have the junk stuff, and that just gets fed straight into a molecular matter condenser thing, again making singularities. So this is basically entirely automated by what's coming off the mining laser. And if I ever need to, I can shut the mining laser off. So for example, if I need to be really conservative with my power usage, that's why there are all these levers all over the place. It's just so that if I need to be conservative with my power usage, for example, the fusion reactor up there, for whatever reason, breaks, and then this capacitor down here, by some absolute bizarre, who knows what, has no power left in it. Although, when you have 1.8 trillion RF stored, and you're using idle 30,000 RF with the mining laser on, you know, it's kind of, yeah. I will get through that anytime soon. But this this is going to be replaced. This is going to be part of that program that's on the big matrix down here. But currently this is monitoring the draconic capacitor, and when this gets down to, I think it's 30%, it sends out a redstone signal on 4881, which then goes to here and says, hey, turn this on. And so this receives a redstone signal, and this just powers up. And then, as you can see, we got the little manager at the top there that will manage the control rods and so on. And that's going to get moved to the other software that I'll show you in a minute. So this here is also going to go away and be part of the system downstairs. So for continuing our ore gathering, RF tools, so we have here a diamond system. So this is basically where I'm getting diamonds from. It has nether diamond ore, large globes of all over the place, and this thing is expensive. This costs what, 27,000 RF per tick to maintain. And then we have this one, which is similar, but this one is doing emeralds and gold, and this is 29,000. And obviously stick them in here. We're pulling power off that system over there. We can then go over here and say, from here I want to go visit my diamond world. It's like, yay, off we go. I had to put this up. One of the side effects, I didn't bother to clarify what time of day. So this is constantly at dawn, which means that it never gets bright enough for the different mobs to despawn. But it's bright enough to see. And so this here, big orbs of nether diamond. So if I ever need diamonds, I have them here. And then big orbs of liquid bedrockium. Now this simply a buildcraft pump feeding an ender tank, getting power from the power grid with a chunk loader that's currently loading a chunk, or all the chunks that this orb is in. This orb is so damn massive, so kinda had to. But this allows me to get essentially unlimited bedrockium and unlimited diamonds, so that I can do whatever I want, whenever I want with diamonds and bedrock. We have a similar thing for emeralds. Wait, lag. That's because this thing's running now. Yeah. I'm gonna turn that off before I go further, because holy crap. The Tinker's table really does lag me out badly. Actually, let's just put that straight up there so I don't forget it. So, if we go to the emerald, what? Wow, that lag hurts. Tinker's stuff is killing me. And so this is a similar sort of thing. But I got lucky on this. So I wanted the gold because I was really running out of gold. So this is like the second gold orb. First one went away here. But the gold orbs of molten gold are being made out of nether quartz and Certus quartz. So I essentially have an unlimited supply of molten gold and the different quartz. Now, that's fine, but I also need emeralds, so there must be one around here somewhere. Here's one. Oh, two. So there are little orbs in this case, because I only had a little orb tumbler at the time, of nether emerald ore. And so I just bring the digital miner over here and say, suck up that orb, and it goes and it turns them into, it puts them through into my ore processing system, and I don't ever have to think about it again. But these two worlds that I've created are essentially giving me, well, unlimited diamonds, unlimited quartz, both nether quartz and Certus quartz, unlimited bedrockium, and unlimited gold. I have no issues ever again having to worry about resources, I would say, at this point. So that's what those two do. Let's go back to crazy lag. Let's just get that world turned off so that I don't have to put up with this sucking all the frame rates. It is super annoying that this does what it does, but it was an easy way to get ores, easy way to get the resources that I wanted. Wireless ME, not a big deal, everyone does it. This has only got a 130 meter range, because I don't really care. Next level up is really kind of empty. Tree farm, so rubber and oak, and then we've got a wheat farm and potato farm, and that's all these are. These are voiding everything over 128 stacks, so these are voiding everything over 64 stacks. Why? Because I'm not using anywhere near enough of these, and I just don't care. Over here I had a little mob spawner. To get the mining laser you needed pink slime, and to get the pink slime you needed to use the slaughterhouse to get the pink slime, and then that was taking forever, so I just set up an MFR auto spawner to produce. Once I'd captured one pink slime, I could use this to spawn a million, and then I could get the pink slime balls that way to produce the MFR laser pre-charges and so on. So that's what that was. Obviously, the capacitor is there. I put all this glass in just because, you know, that capacitor looks cool, and that fusion reactor looks cool, and I wanted to be able to see them. And so, yeah. I haven't decided what I'm going to put up here yet. I'm probably not going to be honest, because I'm not going to stick out here. This has just turned into hell lag, so yes. Energy production continued. We have over here 3 brine towers. These are producing brine as fast as it is possible for me to produce brine with 3 of these. Down the bottom, lag central down here too as well, just be warned. So down the bottom we have some resistive heaters. These are from Mechanism 9 as well. They are taking 2,500 RF each to produce heat, which is then going through these thermodynamic conductors, which are basically just heat conduits. to keep these towers heated. And I have another one down here, again running. Why? Because these, if they were just running on solar alone, lose energy at night. So by running these heaters, these continue to produce brine through the night, even though at night I can't use the lithium that I am producing. So that then gets stored in this nice, wonderful dynamic tank. So the brine goes into the tank through the night, and then the lithium production can continue in the morning. Then we have obviously brine getting turned into lithium, and with 3 towers I am still not able to outproduce brine faster than I'm using it to produce lithium. But the heaters keep this hot anyway, because again, through the night this would lose heat, so production would go down. So with those heaters down there, 5,000 RF just to keep the energy production going is not a problem by me. So obviously we take liquid lithium out of here, and then we have to turn it into a gas with this deconcentrating rotary concentrator. And this now takes out from liquid lithium back into normal lithium and sticks it into a gas tank. We then feed from the gas tank into our solar neutron activators, which are producing tritium. These being solar powered and only solar powered only work at night. So you have to produce an excess through the day to be able to keep the reactor running at night. So we take that excess and we put it into 3 big tanks. And then these tanks will feed into the reactor or into here in the chemical infuser, but we'll explain that in a bit. Now, the thing about these solar neutron activators is that they are producing 1 millibucket every 6 ticks, and I am using currently, oh, spoiler alert, currently have an injection rate of 4, so that's 2 millibuckets a tick of the tritium. So one of these would not even run this on its own at the lowest possible setting, let alone produce an excess. So we have a bank of 30 of them. So if 30 of these are producing 30 millibuckets per 6 ticks, then that should in theory be enough to keep us going on this thing with an injection rate nice and useful. So obviously we take the liquid lithium, the gaserized lithium, put it into these things. Yeah, you can see this is going through the tritium quite rapidly. But we put the lithium into these and then feed it over into here. Deuterium is basically just heavy water. So you put a filter on here, feed it lots of water, it then takes the water, filters it out, puts it into the electrolytic separator, which takes the heavy water and produces oxygen and deuterium. And then we dump the excess oxygen and we go idle when we are not needing to produce deuterium. And then that goes and it feeds into this tank here, which goes straight to the reactor and then also into the chemical infuser. So the reactor is basically producing its own DT fuel by taking the deuterium directly and the tritium directly, but the chemical infuser is also producing the same thing. So we take the tritium and we take the deuterium and we create the DT fuel. Now this is important because we need the DT fuel to be able to start the reactor. We take Holrooms and we put the Holroom into this slot in the reactor, and then we shoot the lasers at it and that ignites the reactor. But the Holroom needs DT fuel. So that's why we have the chemical infuser over there also producing DT fuel. That DT fuel then gets put into the Holroom, and then you can put the Holroom into the top of the reactor there. Now, this is a bit of a spoiler, I haven't finished this yet, which is why it's not turned on. But this robot will be part of the power system, and this robot will basically go collect these Holrooms, fill them up over there, and then inject them into the reactor when it needs to start the reactor. That's coming, not yet anywhere near finished, so I'm not even going to turn it on to show you the state that it's in. Now, the reactor is controlled. The injection rate controls the reactor's energy production. So you see here we currently have an injection rate of 4, and we're producing just under 400,000 RF per tick. So if I increase the injection rate, say to 8, so now we are using 4 tritium per tick and 4 deuterium per tick. And this will now be able to go up, and it'll eventually settle down just under 800,000 RF per tick, which is fine. It's excessive, it's way more than I am ever going to use at this point in the game, but I don't really care. So to start the reactor, I guess I should start at that point. These reactors need energy to get started. I mean, you can feed in your tritium and you can feed in your deuterium, put the Holroom in the top, but then you've got to ignite it to just start the reaction. And that's what, excuse me. Ooh, that's interesting. Okay, so this laser setup here. Obviously we have flux ducts powering these lasers, and these flux ducts are pulling from this tesseract into the lasers, which the lasers are then getting redirected, and they charge this thing. This is a laser amplifier, and when this thing gets a redstone signal, it fires all this energy that it has currently stored. So it's currently stored 653 million RF, and it fires all that into the reactor chamber, which heats it up, which allows us to ignite the DT fuel that's in the Holroom, which starts the reaction and allows the reactor to then self-sustain using the tritium and the deuterium to produce its own DT fuel directly. That's the principle behind this. Now, this little program, nowhere near finished, but it's currently monitoring what the reactor is producing. It tells us whether the reactor is on or not, and it tells us the injection rate, and as you see, I can increase the injection rate or decrease it manually here. And eventually that's going to be a bit different, but this button doesn't work yet. It's coming, it will work. But that will allow me to fire this laser into there manually from the computer there, which means that I will also be able to have that happen automatically from the computer there. But before the laser can fire, the laser needs energy in this. Now this is currently storing 650 million RF, and if we go and we look in the statistics here, with a minimum injection rate of 2, this requires a minimum of 99 million degrees Celsius. So that's kind of difficult. Now to get to that temperature, It's from memory 100 million RF. But 100 million RF, I can't guarantee that I haven't done enough experimentation, and I'm not really going to be bothered wasting time on that. And I know that, for example, I can stick 400 million into there and guarantee that that will ignite. If I hit this button, it shoots the laser right now. This is currently how I do it. But that computer program will detect that I have consumed this laser, and it turns these ones on automatically. So we have this redstone I/O port down here that's attached to the computer, and that turns this tesseract on, which then powers these lasers, which then starts filling up this amplifier. You can see here we're up to 15, 16 million, 17 million RF stored in there. Well, why waste that? So what will happen is, you see this is also monitoring how much energy is going into that. So when it detected that this was empty, it automatically turned the lasers on. And when it detects that this gets to 400 million, it's automatically going to turn these lasers off. And then I will be able to, if there's a hole room in the reactor, I can hit the button on the computer and it will fire the lasers. Or what is more likely going to be happening when I finish the software, it will automatically ignite the reactor when it is asked to by the rest of the system. The intention being, I'm producing lots of resources here, and I even expanded this just in case I wanted to add another 10 more neutron activators to increase my injection rate. But I don't need to. I mean, an injection rate of 4 I can sustain, an injection rate of 6 I can sustain. So it's irrelevant at this point. But I am consuming resources doing this, i.e. specifically I'm consuming RF that I don't need to, just to run this. And this is clearly a very pretty to look at reactor, but lag. It doesn't matter who you are, having that running is going to produce lag, just the same way that the draconic evolution capacitor here, with all these particles flying around, is producing massive lag. So the goal is reduce lag. So you can see the production went up and down. I'm kind of proud of this little piece of software, and eventually the one up top is going to do something similar. At the moment, the one up top, all I'm doing is getting the automation stuff going. So all those systems up there currently are monitoring, and they will eventually talk back to this thing. So this is just another computer. It's just running in a server case here, and it's got a wireless adapter attached to it down below. This is also going to be connected to the ME system. It's why I've got this little subsystem that I'm practicing with, because I don't really feel like playing against the main system that's got everything in it. So when the software turns on, it does an initial announcement. So it checks all the statistics for the systems that it's monitoring. And currently it's monitoring one, but the way I'm coding it allows it to monitor multiples. But it then sends out a broadcast that this system is listening for. And so it received the broadcast from this address. This is who received it at that address. This is when it was received in game time. And then this is the data. And so it says this is the capacitor. So the first capacitor currently has this much RF stored. It is currently this much RF going into it, and it has a total capacity of this much. We are announcing that we're here, and we are announcing what we are and what port we're listening on the network. And then this is just the time that the message was sent, so you notice that this time here, 748, is a few ticks, well in this case, almost 20 ticks before this time. And then we're also saying that the status currently is okay. So this format here is just an announcement, and I have not yet formalized or finalized this, so this might change. So this is now, this system here now knows that there's capacitors on the network. So if we go up here and do similar here, so if I exit this and I tell this to start running again, so this is now sent. The lasers are still going. This lag is crazy. Similar sort of thing. So the sender details, so you notice similar address but different, received by this computer, when it was received, and then it's saying the amplifier state currently has 259 million in it at the time that this was sent, out of a maximum of 2 billion RF. We are announcing that we are the reactor monitor, and we're listening on the same port on the network, and this is the time that we sent, and then we state, in the same way that we have the amplifier state, we have the reactor state, and this is producing a lot more data, so it got truncated a bit in the display here. But this is essentially saying how much energy is producing, the case temperature, the plasma temperature, the injection rate details, whether we're actively cooled or passively cooled. If we're actively cooled, how much water is in the machine, how much steam is in the machine. They're showing you how much fuel, whether it has fuel or not, and so on. So the purpose of all this, obviously we need to be able to track our power. We want to know how much power we have in reserve, and we want to know how much power we are producing, so that we can then have a central system that can monitor the power usage, adjust our machines, either increase or decrease the power production, or increase and decrease the power that's getting consumed. So what will eventually happen, once I've got the code for the reactor working, because I've almost finished the capacitor stuff, this down here will talk to the capacitor banks, and it will talk to the reactor. It will then also talk to all those machines, and all those machines, and all those machines, and anywhere else that I have machines, and it will use redstone signals to turn them on or off individually as necessary based on power. It can also already do the same with the big reactor here. So if it detects that the production is less than the energy consumption, it can already produce more by turning this on, and it does it on the same channel using wireless redstone as that system there does when it detects that that capacitor is getting low. Now, this is nowhere near finished. There's a lot that has to go into it, and then I also have to add all the other cabling on top. But you can start to see why, for example, this has to be turned on for it to produce and do what it needs to do, and this has to be turned on and off for it to produce what it needs to do, and these have to be turned on and off, and so on. So the whole purpose of having all this on a redstone, and these are not yet on redstone, but they will eventually be also, is so that this central server here can manage everything. And it will then also eventually talk to the AE system so that when I need it to, it can tell the AE system, we need more of this item, please produce it to produce more power. So for example, in the case of the big reactor, it will tell the AE system to smelt up more yellorium so that we can put more yellorium ingots in there. Or it will tell the AE system to produce more holrooms so that we can feed those to the robot that's up top that's putting them into the reactor automatically when the reactor needs to be ignited. So that's coming along, and I am nowhere even close to being in the production of this. Currently, I am still working on all the code for managing the reactor, and then once I have the code in this thing for managing the reactor, and I can move this computer, put it somewhere else so that I can hide the conduits as much as possible. Once that code is finished, then I need to finish the code for the robot that's feeding into the reactor the various holrooms. And then once that code is finished, and the reactor controller and the matrix controller down here, so this is the induction matrix, this is an induction matrix, and so this is a matrix controller. Once those 3 bits of code are all completed, and those 3 bits of code are on their own talking to each other, then once that's done, then I will actually put some more effort into finishing this code, which currently just displays what it's seeing on the network. And if I really wanted to, I could manually tell this to control those other 2 at the moment, but I can't be bothered. But eventually what this will do is be a graphical display for those other 2. So all the data that's coming off this capacitor at the moment. So what's producing this histogram, that can also end up on that other computer, the server computer, so that I can see it on that machine's monitor, the histogram of the energy use. And then same sort of thing, there will be similar sort of display features coming off this software when it's finished, so I'll be able to get a histogram of the energy production of the reactor, or the case temperature, or the plasma temperature, or the steam production, or the water availability, and so on. So all those things will eventually combine. Oh, and you'll notice this got to 400 million, and it's automatically turned the lasers off. So we now have 400 million in this laser amplifier, and these lasers are now controlled by this system here. So that means that that's already now primed. So if for some reason that reactor stops, these lasers are in a position to be able to immediately restart it as soon as there is a holroom in there, which is fantastic. But yeah, at this point in time, all this software is able to do manually is change the injection rate and charge the lasers. I haven't got that to the point yet where everything else is automated, and in truth that's also going to require that I get this thing automated, because this thing is nowhere near complete. But we will get there. So that is a basic overview of what I've got going. Let's go turn this on. that is a basic overview of the current state of my Minecraft survival system. It is, at this point in time, I'm quite proud of the fact that I've gotten to this state without cheating at all. Like, not a single give command, not a single TP command at all ever. And yet we are now in a position where, you know, we have nearly 13,000 blocks of iron on top of the nearly 9,000 ingots, and a block is 9 ingots, so crazy gold. Or same sort of thing with iron. We have, what, 6,000 blocks of iron and another 34, nearly 35,000 ingots. Resources I'm not even close to hurting for. I can produce, if we sort by number of items, 5.7 million cobblestone, 137,000 coal, 107,000 copper, you know, 44,000 emeralds, 39,000 diamonds. I don't really have to worry, and I'm at the point now where I just don't care about the resources. I mean, if I wanted to create another induction cell, let's make those 10 here. What do I need? Oh, I'm running low on redstone. I'm going to have to produce some redstone. That's kind of bad. Need to go and make more lithium, but that's not difficult. Lithium dust, I should say. But I mean, these are simple fixes for simple issues. But oh, there we go. There's nearly 1,000 redstone there, and one of those blocks will turn into 9 dust. So, oh dear, what a shame. Oh yeah, and then I have put my mob soul here. Woohoo, 5 mob souls. I can spawn another dragon. Yay. Actually, that's really where my focus is about to have to start turning, because I want to finish off my draconic stuff. But we'll get there. Where is my robot? There he is. Move him off a chart pad. So, yeah, this is the state I am currently in, and most of my efforts, most of what I spend time doing now, currently leaving myself in front of this machine while I write code in Notepad++, and then exit out and then reload so that I can see whatever changed in Notepad++ actually apply here. And then, yeah, that's where I'm up to in my playthrough at this point.